This week, the West is decided. On the 28th, the Battle of Glorieta Pass continues. Union numbers around 1,300 men under Colonel John P. Slough. Slough further divides this into two columns, one led by Major John Shivington and one directly under Colonel Slough's command. Shivington has two battalions, one under Captain Lewis and one under Captain Weinkopf. Slough has one battalion of Lieutenant Colonel Samuel F. Tappan and the Cavalry Reserve, which is directly under his command. Confederates are under Lieutenant Colonel Scurry, controls the 2nd, 4th, 5th, and 7th Texas Mounted Rifles, along with an artillery battery. Combined, they number 1,100 men. Less than the Union, but still an effective fighting force. Both Slough and Scurry wish to assault their respective opponents on this day. Slough sends Shivington to flank the Texans, while he engages them from the front. Slough is moving towards the camp when he comes across only 1,000 Confederate mounted rifles. Wait, this isn't their camp. The Union is outnumbered at this point. Shivington is nowhere to be seen, and Tappan is all that Slough has. Tappan sets up a defensive line with companies of 1st Colorado. The Confederate mounted rifles dismount and get ready to assault the line, but they are not organized, and the companies of these rifles mix with each other, allowing time for Tappan to open fire first. Scurry's superior numbers are working against him here, and it takes 1 hour before he can effectively flank Tappan. Slough now has to reform his line further back, but this time he will have artillery and cavalry to reinforce Tappan. Scurry, seeing this, decides to divide his command into 3 columns. He attacks on the left, center, and right. The attack on the Union left goes terribly. Artillery tears into the Confederate charge. Union infantry volley into the charging foe, and actually strike down its leader. This causes the charge on the left to dissipate. The central assault has stalled. Confederate artillery meant to ensure victory has been withdrawn, as Union gunfire destroyed the limber and they didn't want to risk it. Confederate mounted rifles are unorganized and are unable to press the assault. On the right, the Confederates are able to flank the Union. When they were pushing the Union line, the Confederate leader was struck down. Scurry regroups and enters an attack squarely on the Union center. Before he can charge, let's check in on Shivington. Shivington and his men are standing at the top of a canyon, looking down on 100 men defending the entire Confederate camp and supplies. He looks at his men, back towards the entire Confederate forces, ammo, extra guns, any hope to make this battle into a decisive victory. He moves down the canyon and charges into the camp. They capture some men, destroy the remaining enemy force. 500 pack animals are sent off. 80 wagons are looted and burnt to the ground. Scurry is back against Slough. He's able to further force the Union back. It was too late to strike the decisive blow. Tomorrow he shall deal the final blow. Then word arrives. Shivington has burned his entire hope for victory. He holds Glorieta Pass, so he tactically wins the battle, but he can't do anything, and he has to retreat towards Santa Fe. The Union lost over all 3 days, including the battles last week, 51 dead, 78 wounded, 15 captured, and 3 missing. The Confederates fared far worse. 50 killed, 80 wounded, and 92 captured. This isn't all of the action on the 20th. The same day, Confederate President Jefferson Davis puts forth a controversial idea, to say the least: conscription. As we are all aware, America doesn't do conscription. President James Madison tried to pass a conscription act back in the War of 1812, but King of Congress Daniel Webster ended that idea. And conscription is unpopular among the people. Some claim Davis is just trying to make them slaves. The only question Davis has to worry about is, will it pass? In all likelihood, yes. The Confederate Congress is first a huge fan of Davis. Along with, at the moment, they are worried the Union outnumbers them. They don't have enough money to effectively raise the bounty on soldiers, so conscription is their only hope to put up any sort of numbers that can match the Union. The very same day, we must travel back to Missouri and Island number 10. Major General Henry Halleck of the entire Western Front sends word to Flag Officer Andrew H. Foote. Give him, referring to Pope, all the assistance in your power. This causes Foote to call another council of war. Commander Henry Walk of the USS Carondelet says he can run past the batteries. Foote acquiesces to Pope's demands. They start planning. The last thing on the 29th, Confederates consolidate Corinth. Corinth is a twofold transportation hub. First, the railroads. The Memphis Railroad is the lifeline of the CSA's Western Front, being the only all-weather railroad, and here it meets with the Mobile and Ohio Railroad. This actually allows the Confederates to concentrate its forces very quickly at this one spot. The other transportation hub is the Tennessee River, northeast of the town. The Tennessee, if lost, will open up the Confederacy's heartland to the Union. On the 1st of April, back to Missouri. 40 men of the 42nd Illinois at New Madrid raid a Confederate battery. Under the cover of storm, they seem like eldritch horrors, and they milk this fear, scaring off Confederate pickets. They spike the enemy guns and disappear. When Confederate reinforcements return, they only see the aftermath. On the 2nd, Foote sends out a flotilla of gunboats and mortars to destroy the floating New Orleans battery. And on the morning of the 3rd, the New Orleans battery, fearing destruction, cuts its chain, keeping it stationary and able to fight against Foote's fleet. It goes downstream, harmlessly. It will no longer be a threat. Also on the 2nd, Illinois Representative John A. Logan resigns. Logan is a Douglas Democrat. He fought at Bull Run, while also at the same time being a representative, and he feels like he can't get anything done in D.C., so he signs up as a colonel in the 31st Illinois Volunteers. On the 3rd, Corinth jolts to life. First, a letter is received from President Jefferson Davis to full General Albert Sidney Johnston. General Buell is in motion. Buell moving rapidly from Columbia to Savannah. A division of 10,000 moving towards the cutter. Confederate forces, 40,000, ordered forward to offer battle near Pittsburgh. Open engagement before Buell can form junction. A.S. Johnston. Then, Johnston sends a letter out to his army. Headquarters, Army of the Mississippi, Corinth, Mississippi, April 3rd, 1862. Soldiers of the Army of the Mississippi, I've put you in motion to offer battle to the invaders of your country. Remember the precious stake involved. Remember your mothers, your wives, your sisters, your children. Depend on the result. Remember the fair, abounding land of ours, the happy homes that would be desolated by your defeat. The eyes and hopes of 8 million people rest on you. Show yourselves worthy of your race, worthy of the women of the South. With such incentives as these, your general will lead you to the combat, assured of success. A.S. Johnston, General. But before we get to Sickles, let's talk politics. On April 1st, the new senator from Indiana, Senator Wright, a Democrat, speaks. What do I find here? Instead of senators avoiding questions which are calculated to elicit the bitterest feelings, bill after bill is presented, which is calculated to inflame and enrage, cause sectional discord. My purpose is today to give my reason for the votes I will give on them. I'm no apologist for slavery. I am opposed to it, but I cannot vote for this bill abolishing slavery in the district. My reason is that the Senate has decided against the principle of colonization. In Indiana, we have settled this question explicitly and firmly by constitutional provision. Illinois is doing it. Ohio will do it. We tell you that the black population shall not mingle with the white population in our states. We tell you that in your zeal for emancipation, you must engraft colonization upon your measure. We intend that our children shall be raised where their equals are, and not in a population partly white and partly black. We know that equality never can exist between the two races. Wright is talking about the idea of abolishing slavery in the District of Columbia, where it currently exists, but slavery in the district is small in number. The senator from Massachusetts yesterday repeated the sentiment that freedom is national, slavery is sectional. There is another sentiment. The Constitution is national, and the right of the people of the state to make their own domestic policy is national. The proposition of the president is at variance with all my recognized notion of state rights. Wright has referenced colonization, the idea of sending African Americans to Africa, specifically Liberia. In 1816, the American Colonization Society was formed, and its goal, moved emancipated slaves to Liberia. In 1822, it sent around 4,600 free men of color, and in 1843, around 1,800 of them were alive. The ACS and other organizations like it have been a way for Republicans to push for abolition without being attacked for possible race-mixing sympathies. It's a way to get out of the hard questions, but doing so is logistically and financially hard. Let's say nothing of the morality of forcibly sending people to their likely deaths. Colonization was a good tool when it wasn't real. But now that the idea of emancipating slaves is practical and doable, the flaws in it are being seen. Then Senator Pomeroy of Kansas, a radical Republican, speaks. I do not wish to vote compensation to slaveholders here in the district. I do not believe we have the right to give away millions of dollars from the Treasury for this purpose. Voters of slaves here are running out every day. I live in a state where slavery was abolished at once on the 29th of March last year. At midnight, every slave in our state passed from a condition of slavery to freedom. They all went to bed, slaves, if indeed they had any beds. Just in the morning, they got up and walked about free men. I've not seen any trouble arising from that. The constitutionality of this. The Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law, nor shall private property be taken from public use without just compensation. This brings up a very uncomfortable question. Are slaves property that have to be compensated for, or are they people, American citizens, who have the same right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as anyone else? Well, on the 2nd of April, that question is answered by the Senate. There are people being treated unjustly like property. 29 yeas and 14 nays. The question of abolition in the District of Columbia now passes to the House of Representatives. And finally, we reach Stan Sickles. He has to rush to get his command back. In a few weeks, the Excelsior Brigade will leave without him for the Virginia Peninsula. The Peninsula campaign has started, but it takes time to transport all the men there. He rushes to D.C. He sets up appointments with Senator Henry Wilson and Senator Benjamin Wade. Both are Republicans, and Sickles is a Democrat from New York. As we all know, New York Democrats are rare. This is because Sickles knows his way around the political world. And just having an ear of these men is enough to bring back some hope to our very saddened general. That's where the week ends, and we are waiting. Waiting for the aftermath of Glorieta Pass to unfold. Waiting for Fort Macon to fall. Waiting for the Peninsula Campaign to strike its first battle, and waiting for the slaves of D.C., the capital of our democracy, to finally be free. We've been waiting for centuries. Since the birth of our nation, has the Liberty Bell rung deafly on ears? Has not the God-given rights all men are deserving of been denied? It's not the institution of slavery blinded us to the alignment ideals of the Union. As the original sin of slavery that has infected the heart of the United States, not infected too great of an illness, how much longer must we desperately wait for the cure? Hello, it's the entire Civil War week by week team here. That is a weird motto to have. And I want a new outro. So, if you liked the video, please like it. If you want to see more, you should be seeing suggested videos right about now. And if you want to know what happens next week, please subscribe. And if you want to share history, give me suggestions in a more easy way than YouTube comments, or want to tell me how wrong I am, please check out the channel's Discord.